Hey, friends. Welcome to this week's episode of Her Faith at Work. I'm so excited to introduce you this week to my friend Lisa. Lisa and I met last year when we were doing an elite mastermind together. And let me just say, Lisa makes the Energizer Bunny look like its batteries have run out. Her energy is so high, so off the charts, and she is just inspirational in that space. And she challenges me in all the best ways with regard to my health, my fitness, and how I am treating my body so that I can perform at a pace and in a way that really truly allows me to do what the Lord put me here on this earth to do. I will be the first one to say I have fallen off the wagon in the last couple of years. I'm I'm not going to blame COVID. I'm just saying it hasn't been the same. It has not been the same. Anybody? Anybody? And Lisa can speak into my life in this way because she lives it. I just want to give you just a little bit of her many credentials so that you know that she knows what she's talking about as we dig into this conversation, because I know it's going to be challenging for a lot of you. It was for me when we were having it. She is a mom and a wife. She lives in Louisiana, and she has over 31 years in the health and fitness industry. She is a certified high performance health coach. Are you ready for this? With a focus on age reversal protocols. Ladies, anybody but me interested in that? Come on, bring it on. Lisa has a bachelor's degree in health, a master's in exercise science, and she is not only a certified NASM personal trainer, but she's an integrative nutrition coach. She is an integrative women's health coach and a former two-time gym owner, just to name a few of the things that she can consider accolades in her amazing health and fitness career. So let's dig in with my guest, Lisa. Buckle up, you guys. This is going to be great. Let's go. Truth time. When's the last time you raised your hands for a swift kick in the pants? Well, I'm the no-nonsense type friend who's going to tell you when you have food in your teeth. So let's get right to it. This is your infusion of sacred and secular, calling you higher into who God created you to be, exploring how intimately faith applies to every part of your life and how you can live that faith every single day in the marketplace. I felt the tension of separation of church and state. I've been one of the few women at a table of men for decades, and I've stood my ground. Are you ready to do the same? These tools, resources, and interviews are meant to do just that. I'm Jan Touchberry, and it's time to share her faith at work. I am struggling to find words for this podcast today because the Lord has been working on my heart in this area for a long time, but specifically in the last 2 weeks, he has started to really speak some pretty, I don't want to say harsh, because the Lord is never harsh with us, but he's very directional. And it's specifically in this area, and it just happens to coincide with when I have my beautiful friend Lisa on to talk about what she is passionate about. And today, y'all, we are talking about, as women and as business owners, how we treat our bodies. And so please welcome my friend Lisa. Lisa, tell everybody about you, because you are one of the most awesome human beings I know.
Oh, Jan, I love you. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me on your amazing show. It's such an honor to be here. Okay, a little about me. I don't know. There's so many directions to go, but I'll just give general. I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana, mom of three, wife of one. I've been in the health and fitness space for over 32 years. I am 51. I'll be 52 in November, and I love it. I love my age. I want so bad for every woman to not only claim her age, but claim the next year she's going to. So I've been what I call aging up forever. Like, I forget to say I'm 51. I often say, oh, I'll be 52 in November. I think I started doing that the moment I turned 51. I'm like, well, I'll be 52 next November. So it's like I'm always so excited about my next stage. And so that's honestly part of who I am, is just my desire is to love life and to help other women love life too. And let me just caveat it by saying in the midst of the hard, because
Yeah.
that doesn't mean, hey, let's just love life and be Pollyanna. It means, you know what? This season, especially for women 40 plus, it's tough. So how can we grasp and love life and infuse the Lord into every single aspect? So I don't know, that's part of me. That's part of an introduction of me because that truly is my heart and desire right there.
Yeah, that's amazing. I too love my age. People have, as long as I can remember, looked at me and go, "You're not that age." And I think that's part of why I love my age. And it's unfortunately, it's not that way for most women. I hear more often than not, and I know because you're in the space every single day, you probably even hear it more than I do that, oh yeah, I'm 29 again. I'm 29 again. I'm 29. Why? Why 29? I wouldn't go back to 29 if you paid me money. It was
Amen.
real hard.
Amen.
I don't even know where 29 came from. Do you know like why
I think
people?
that's the age. I think I honestly, I've never thought about it until you just said that, but I think that's the age before you consider yourself old, which is 30.
Oh, 30. Okay. Well, then I'm real old.
29. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's my.
it's just so funny that people have fixated on a number instead of fixating on how they feel.
Mhm.
And I know that you're, excuse me, I know that you're super passionate about that. Um, Talk to me about how you got into this space because you have a story there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So how did I get into this space? I started lifting at age 16. I have a guy that I was dating at the time. He was a football player and he brought me into the weight room in high school and I never left. I just fell in love. So I fell in love with fitness
Mm,
kind of early on and I had always danced. So I'd always moved. I was a cheerleader. I was, dance line, all of those things. But the weight room really appealed to me. But then I was in I don't know what age I was, maybe 16, 17, and I was diagnosed with hypoglycemia. And it was like my very first, actually, ovarian cyst a couple years before that. And it was like, it was just this cascade of diagnoses that continued to flow over the next 10 to 12
mm,
years.
mhm.
So for me, I fell in love with weight training. So I went into my bachelor's was health. My master's was exercise science. So I stayed in. I loved it. But throughout this process, I was getting all these diagnoses. I have got to look that up one day because I never know how to say it. The diagnoses,
I
because
think
there's
so. I think it's
multiple
diagnosis.
diagnoses. Okay, anyway. So it was Hashimoto's thyroiditis, then it was
Yeah.
degenerative disc disease and condylomation patella, and then I found out I had two heart defects that I was born with, and it's like PCOS, and it was just I was in my 20s, Jan. This was supposed to
Mm,
be the prime of our life. This is why I would never go back to my 20s.
right. Yeah.
I was tired. I was tired. And I remember my oldest daughter, she was 4 years old at the time. No, I take that back. She was two because I didn't have my other two at the time. She was 2 years old. We had a little play set in the backyard, a swing set. And I remember looking out the window and watching her swing and feeling like I was laying in the recliner, sitting in the recliner at the time. And I remember looking out going, I want to go play with her so bad. But I felt like there was just this weight on my body. I was so tired. I was so fatigued. So I
Mm,
was never diagnosed with chronic fatigue, but with everything else, it was just there. It's probably part of the Hashimoto's as well.
mhm,
So for me, it's like, okay, I'm too young. Not only that, my family health history was a disaster. We're talking diabetes, obesity, insomnia. We had some mental illness in our family. Like the list goes on for them. And people were dying as early as 49 and 50 from
Wow.
cardiovascular disease in my family. So it was
Wow.
really in my 20s where I started going, if I want to forge a different path, I got to do some things very differently.
Yeah.
So then I really just got interested in more integrative health. So
Mm,
my undergrad and my master's were both very conventionally taught. And I felt like education really started for me after college because it
mm,
was real world. It's what do I need to do to help me? How can I feel better? How can I go into my 30s feeling better? How can I have more children feeling way better than this? So that's really what got me on the path for the passion for let's look just beyond eat right and exercise, because what was preached back then is not what was working well for my body. And then as I hit perimenopause, it definitely wasn't what worked well for my body. So it's been an evolution of education and really self understanding what is going on with me. And then it's like I was suddenly attracting clients that were like me. They either had
Mm.
immunity, they were in their 20s, then they were in their 30s with me, then they were in their 40s with me. Now many are in their 40s and their 50s with me. So as they aged and as their issues came about, I really had to dig in and understand, how do I help them? And at the same time, I was helping myself, because it's like so many of us were on the same journey.
Yeah, that's so good. I feel like, you were talking about how exercise and eat right was preached back then. I feel like it's still preached today, but that's just so much the surface of how you actually can. Hopefully, you don't have to regain your health, but so many of us are in this situation just because of, hashtag life, that we have to regain some semblance of our health. And we think that just exercising and eating right, or moving and eating right, is going to solve the problem. But I mean, talk to me a little bit about, I know that you are super passionate about food
Mm-hmm.
and what you put in your body. You're very careful. We have been on enough trips together that I know this about you.
Right.
And I feel like you've actually, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you've actually like gone over into the space a little bit of the biohacking,
Mm.
of learning different tips and tools and things that you can use to help your body maintain health, regain health, and even reverse
Mm.
age. And so I know that food plays such a huge part of that in your life. So talk to us a little bit about food and how, you know, well, I'm not gonna define the question. Just talk to us about how you feel about food.
Yeah, no, this is great. Yeah, I mean, we've got 3 hours, right? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
So again, back in college, we were taught the food guide pyramid.
right.
And the
Yeah.
food guide pyramid, the very bottom is, I think it's 8 to 11 servings of carbohydrates. And the
Yep.
picture comes from bread, comes from cereals, comes from rice, comes from
Hmm.
pasta,
Hmm.
right? And then it tears up, and protein is not very much at all. And it tears up from there. That's what I was taught in college. That's how I ate.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
when I was right smack dab in the middle of hypoglycemia too.
Oh
And
God.
so, yeah, you start shaking, you eat more carbs, you have more candy, you have, some orange juice. That's what you do when you're hypoglycemic, to bring your blood sugar up. So those were the things that I had to begin unlearning as I
Mm.
started understanding, okay, these things are not serving me at all. So there's a lot of different directions we can go with food, but I guess I'll start here. The women that I work with, as you know, Jan, are typically 40 plus. They're
Right.
typically in perimenopause or menopause. And so the problem is that our age range, because you and I aren't too far apart, our age range comes from very much a diet culture.
Yeah.
And what happens in the diet culture, a diet culture is a swing. And anybody listening is going to understand this. Super low carb, super high carb, super low fat, super high fat, only meat, no meat, vegetarian, carnivore, like you name it, there's these huge swings.
Right.
And so many of us do these things, and I have absolutely been guilty of this myself, but we'll follow these things because we get to a place of misery and we decide I'm done and I need a fix quick.
Right.
And unfortunately, some of these things can bring you a quick fix, but it's the sustainability and what it's doing to your adrenal system in the process of that long term staying on those big diet swings. So, what I've done for me and what I really work with my clients to do is, let's come back to a place of equilibrium and understanding you can never go wrong with whole foods.
Hmm.
It's so boring, but there's nothing flashy here. I'm not about to tell you some big thing that's going to make you drop 30 pounds in a week. We're just talking about unprocessed whole foods. You can't go wrong with that. And so that's where I really try and get my clients back to, in as simple as that sounds, it is a big challenge,
Right.
especially when you take someone, the ladies that I work with, Jan, 9 times out of 10, almost 10 times out of 10, I'm telling you, it is rampant. Do not eat enough. We have gotten to a place where we're afraid of food, we're afraid of carbs, we're afraid of fat, or we're all about them, or we're afraid of protein, and we're afraid of meat, and all of these things. And so it's like women don't really know what to eat or how to eat. Not only that, but because that they have eaten under what their body needs just to sustain a heartbeat. And I'm going to get into that in one moment because I think this is a really important part of the conversation. Because they've eaten so far below that for so long, their metabolism has downshifted and their
Mm-hmm.
body is absolutely petrified to let go of fat. So let
Mm.
me just explain, if you'll indulge me for a moment, let me explain something called BMR, or basal metabolic rate.
Right.
Your basal metabolic rate is the amount of calories that you burn just to basically for your heart to beat, for your hair to grow, for your lungs to breathe in air, for your body to function. If you were to wake up in the morning, lay down on a couch, not move for the rest of the day, the amount of calories you burn all day long would be your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. When I look at a new client, I have them fill out this form so that I can actually give them their personalized macronutrient profile, but I have to know where they're coming from. And when I see how they're eating and what they're consuming, it's absolutely, I'm telling you, almost every single time, many are eating below their BMR. So just taking this from a common sense standpoint, if you're saying, body, I don't like this extra belly fat, I don't like this extra arm fat, got a little double chin going on, my thighs are getting wider, my hips are getting wider, my waist is expanding, so I need you to help me lose body fat here. Yet you are feeding your body at or below your BMR. Your body's like, sister, I hear what you're saying, but you also want to live and breathe and have your heart beating, right? I mean, I
Right.
can't do both. So
Yeah.
it's taking those few calories that you're consuming and it's actually allotting it to the things that your body needs. Your body loves you and it's just trying to help you survive. So
Mm.
when women can understand that, and many women think, I'm probably overeating, so I just need to cut. I just need to cut. And they may be overeating carbs and fats, but when
Mm-hmm.
you look at their total calories that they're bringing in for a day, they are not consuming enough.
Mm.
And the number one thing they're under consuming is protein.
Protein. Yeah.
It's so hard. Most women are consuming between 40 and 60 grams a day when many need double that.
Mm-hmm.
Many need double that at least, right? Kind of depending on where they are. So that right there is an area of passion and concern for me because when we are not prioritizing protein, what's going to happen is not only are we going to lose the muscle mass we already have, we're not going to be able to build more muscle mass at all.
Right.
So our body, in lieu of having adequate macro and micronutrients, so your macronutrients are your fat, carbs, and proteins, your micronutrients are all your vitamins and minerals. When we're not consuming enough, we're lacking both. And when your
Mm.
body doesn't have that, it takes that metabolism. It goes, whoa, sister, we got to down regulate this a bit so that we can use the little bit of energy you're giving this engine to actually help you just live and breathe. So those are some of just my areas of passion's a word, but like concern. I'm very concerned for women because they don't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? You just don't
Right.
know. So part of it's just education.
Mm-hmm.
But I say this all the time on my podcast, Jan. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is knowledge. Action is
Yeah.
power. So
Mm.
once we know, how do we then take that and put it into action? And that's where I come in and really try and help women shift where they're at, what they're consuming to what they need to be consuming.
Mm, that's so good. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I have heard that the majority of diet and exercise plans are based on or created for men, not women. Like they're
Um,
not like mainstream diet and exercise plans. Like if I I I don't know. I don't I'm losing words to say
yeah.
about like which ones, but I think in general, studies and things have been done and they use men.
Yes.
to
So
figure all this stuff out.
I'll take what you're saying and I'll give a for instance. Okay. So
Great. Thank you.
specifically, intermittent fasting is a big one. This is a big,
Mm.
okay. And I'm just going to get on an intermittent fasting tirade here for just a moment. Um,
Okay.
okay, so we're just gonna I'm just gonna vent for a moment. Okay,
Please.
so basically, when we talk about intermittent fasting typically means that your eating window now it varies, but for many, their eating window is only maybe 8 hours, maybe only 6 hours. I
Hmm.
used to teach intermittent fasting, Jan. I had a whole program around intermittent fasting because guess what? It worked until it stopped working. What I noticed is that my clients were losing, but they were losing muscle mass. They were struggling
Wow.
so hard to gain muscle. And what happened is that when you're in your 20s, your 30s, maybe your early 40s, you can totally get away with this. But so much of the research on intermittent fasting is geared around men, number one, and some of the research that's out there for women, it's not around women of perimenopause and menopausal age. So
Hmm.
when we hit this age, our progesterone starts to decline, our estrogen starts to decline, our testosterone starts to decline, and our bodies don't process food the way it used to, and our cortisol spikes. So that
Right.
stress hormone, by the way, cortisol, it's a good thing. God gave it to us for a reason, in the right amounts and at the right times. So when
Hmm.
our cortisol spikes for too long or at inappropriate times or for too long a period of time, we put our body under further stress. And that's one of the problems that I have with intermittent fasting with women who are like, yeah, I don't eat till 11 or 12. How do you get in 100 to 170 grams of protein in
Yeah.
2 meals? You
Yeah.
are going to be miserable, miserable. So that is an example of, oh, intermittent fasting is all the rage. And let me caveat also by saying intermittent fasting has a place for those with autoimmune diseases, with certain autoimmune diseases or cancer, or there's different things that it absolutely has a place for. I'm also big on, hey, do it once or twice a week because of something called autophagy, which is cellular cleaning. So I'm not saying never intermittent fast. The problem is it really goes back to diet culture. If it's always worked and it's still working for you and you're getting in enough protein and you're sleeping well and your libido's up and your hair is growing and you're did I say sleeping great, all of those things, if you're checking all those boxes, more power to you.
Mm.
9 times out of 10, all those boxes are not checked.
Right.
Something or multiple things begin to suffer, and one of the first things is lack of amount of time to get in enough protein. So back to your point, that is something that is very pervasive from those of us that come from the diet culture. But so much of the research and literature out there comes from men, college
Hmm.
age men, or
Hmm.
just men who don't have periods. Hello. And who don't go through menopause. And so, we adopt that for our own.
Yeah.
Again, I want to say there is a time and there's a place for it. But I do want to encourage anybody listening who is intermittent fasting in perimenopause and menopause age. I just want you to think back to all those boxes. If you're checking them, fabulous. I'm always going to tell you, listen to your body. You are the master of your body. Nobody else can tell you it's best for you. You internally know, but we lose that instinct when we grab onto an ideology and we run with it and we never really think, how am I actually feeling? How is this affecting me? Am I getting in all my protein, etc.?
Yeah. So remind us of what those boxes are. I know you mentioned some of them.
Yeah. So one of the very first boxes I ask women to check is, how are you sleeping?
Hmm.
Because the less food we have, often the worse we sleep. Our bodies desperately need a good balance of fats, carbohydrates, and protein for our cortisol to function in the right manner. There's so many other things that affect cortisol, but food is one of them. Timing of your food as well. Many who intermittent fast, there's some who do it right, but then there's some who they're so hungry at that last meal, they're gorging everything. So are
Hmm.
you eating appropriately? Are the foods that you're eating whole foods? So we're talking about sleep. We're talking about the kinds of foods that you're consuming. We're talking about libido. Is your libido up? Because if your libido is struggling, that means there's probably a hormonal issue there. Is that hormonal issue? Could it be linked possibly to not getting enough nutrition?
Mm.
Another one would be your mood. Another one would be your rate of hair growth. Women's hair starts to fall out the more stressed their body is. So I can't tell you how many women in this phase of life are like, I used to have this full head of hair and I just don't anymore.
Yeah.
And again, this can stem from so many things, but it's easy to start with food because this is often where we are lacking.
That's so good. So good. I mentioned at the beginning that the Lord has really been working on me just over the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to do a whole podcast on what he's been telling me. But specifically, I mean, if you're a believer, which I think most people who listen to my podcast are probably believers, you've probably heard that your body is a temple. It's a temple of the Holy Spirit, and I got this picture of the detail with which they built the original temple, and that they only put the best metals and the best fabrics and the best of this and the best of that to create this temple for the presence of the Lord to come and dwell among the people. Well, now he dwells here
Mm.
in inside me, and he has things for me to do. And if I am not treating this temple right, I am not preparing his temple where he dwells and has purpose for my life. I'm not doing that well. And it's been so convicting to me that it's way more than, and I'll just speak for myself because I'm not your Holy Spirit, people, but I will say that it's way more. Do I want to live a full life? Yes. Do I want to be able to keep up with my grandchildren? Yes. Do I want to remain healthy and active as long as I possibly can? Yes. But above all of that, it's, am I fueling this body, this temple, well enough to do what the Lord has me here on this earth right this second to do, or for the next 20, 30 years to do, maybe 40 years, who knows? And so it's just been, I don't know, it's just been something that has been like not even in the back of my mind. I can't even say that. It's like in the front of my mind. It's just so, so important. And I just think that it's something that so many of us, because of convenience or whatever, is not given the importance that it needs. So tell us some of the other things that you do in your life to prioritize being healthy and aging well.
Okay. Yeah, great question. So I can say the very first one is that the Lord is part of my process. And I want to say that because I just did a training the other day, and one of the things that the training was called boosted energy and waste loss. And so people think they're coming and they're just getting the tactical and practical about that, which they absolutely did. But I started faith forward. Like
Mm,
it's so important to me because we will ask God to be part of our relationships, our finances, our job, our all the things. But it's like this is an area we often forget to ask him into.
yeah.
And why? Why would we do that? Like you said, this is his body. I'm part of the body of Christ. So he resides inside of me. So as this temple, to steward it well, Jan, I don't want to rely on my flesh. I don't want to rely on my motivation or my inspiration. I am fickle. I get lazy. I don't want to rely on me. I'm just not from that group of people that's like, you got it within you. No, the Holy Spirit that's within you is the one that can empower you. So
Right.
I have to start answering this question by saying, God is a big part of that for me. And I encourage that in all of my clients, faith forward, very God at the very center, not an afterthought, not a byproduct. He's
Hmm.
at the center, and then everything else flows around that. That's number one. Number two, I am a big believer in movement and exercise. My master's is exercise science. I fell in love with exercise way before I ever fell in love with understanding how to eat. Exercise is sexy. I say that all the time. It's like, people come into my program and they're like, I'm ready to work out. It's like, that's great. I got workouts there for you. But let's talk about food because this is the one that's really hard, right?
Yeah.
But movement is really, really important to me. And so there are a few tenets that, again, I'm speaking as if I would speak to my clients in perimenopause and menopause. When we are in our 20s and 30s, I know for me personally, even though I've always lifted and loved lifting, I was still a cardio bunny. I remember teaching 12-step aerobics classes a week and spending all this time on the treadmill. And Can't say I ever ran because I always hated running, but it was all about cardio. And again, we could get away with that back then. We cannot now.
Yeah.
We cannot now. The more when we are focused mostly on cardio, we are doing our muscles and our future and our future independence, a major disservice.
Mm.
Strength training must be a part. I always tell my clients, my podcast listeners, like literally anybody who will listen to me, it's not an option. I'm not saying, well, if you want to strength train, I never leave it as an option. It's not an option. If you're here to age well, if you're here to age independently, if you don't want to be an early burden on your children, you must nurture your muscle mass. You must. And that comes through strength training. So for me, I strength train. Right now, I'm 5 days a week. There's times in my life that it's 3 days a week, but right now I'm really focused on a very specific goal. So I'm in there a little bit more. For my clients, I recommend, depending on their goals, 3 to 5 days a week, completely depends. So that's one of the things that I'm doing. Obviously, we talked about food. And by the way, guys, I enjoy, like my husband and I are going out on a date tonight. I am going to enjoy something. It may be half a glass of wine. It may be a little bit of dessert. It may be a little bit of a fattier dish than I would normally eat, but I can do that because I also watch my macronutrient intake. This is something I also used to be very against. Jan, I used to tell women, it's all about intuitive eating. Let's just intuitively eat. Let's eat when we're hungry and let's stop eating when we're full and it's all fine. Do you know the problem with that is that women's bodies aren't hungry anymore because they've downshifted their metabolism and they don't know that they're supposed to eat.
Yeah.
It's a problem, right? So really focusing on, okay, I need this much fat, I need this much carbohydrate, I need this much protein every single day. When I really got detailed and aggressive with that again, it's hard at the beginning, but it became easier. And what it allows me is food freedom. So if you're listening and you've always thought to yourself, whoa, macronutrient counting, so that's for bodybuilders. Those are the only people that do that. Not true. Or I've tried it and I've failed. It's too hard. I got something to say to you. Okay. So this is what I tell my clients. It is hard in the beginning. It kind of stinks. So I'm going to give you 2 steps. Okay. The very first step, for 1 week, I want you to track everything, like literally everything that goes in your mouth, every single bite. And don't change anything. Don't be like, okay, so I have to eat healthy this week. Just keep eating however you eat, MyFitnessPal, Lose It. There's so many apps out there. Find an app, log every bite that goes into your mouth for a week. Here's what's going to happen after a week. Your mind is going to be blown. You are going to think to yourself, holy cow, I'm telling you, most people are not going to be like, oh, I'm eating too much. Most of you are going to be like, I'm barely consuming protein. Oh my gosh, look how many carbohydrates I had that day. Oh my gosh, I had none this other day or whatever. Like it's going to blow your mind. But there's the knowledge, okay? There's the knowledge part of it. Now your eyes are open, but we can't stop there. Now we need to move into action. So this is how I tell my clients to move into action. It can be really overwhelming to track everything all the time. So what I recommend is after that week of tracking everything, you can do anything for a week. You are a woman, okay? You can do anything for 7 days.
Yep.
After tracking for 1 week, make sure you know what your protein should be per day. I personally do this for my clients, but make sure, and if you want me to get into that in a moment, I'm happy to, but make sure you know how much protein you're supposed to be tracking per day and only track that one macronutrient until you're nailing it every day. That may take 1 week. It may take you 4 weeks. It may take you 3 months, but that's all I want you to really be cued in on for that period of time. So just track that. Then once you're nailing that, now let's start tracking the others because then it's going to be old hat and it's not going to be overwhelming. Okay.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I like that. Bite size.
Bite size.
Yeah. Because for me, when it gets overwhelming is when I quit.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's all of us, right? Like, and we're all so busy. And my gosh, in this phase of life, some of us are taking care of parents. Some of us have kids that are grown. And I don't know about you, but I thought, oh, once they turn 18, I'm not going to have to worry anymore. Well, that's when the worry starts, right? So here we are, like in this sandwich culture where we've got the kids and we've got the parents and we've got our careers and we've got the husband and we've got the dogs and the extra dog that we're watching. It's cuckoo. And then you want me to do what? Right? So Just make it easy on yourself. Give yourself that week and then back off. Understand how much protein you need per day and then focus on that until you're nailing it.
Yeah, that's so good. So good. I know that this conversation could go on for literally another 3 hours because I've sat and talked with you and it's just so good. But I want to respect your time and I want to respect the listener's time. And so what I would love for you to kind of leave us with, Lisa, is maybe the one thing, like if you were sitting across the table from somebody that you just met and they are concerned about aging well. They've forgotten what it feels like to feel good. And I think that so many of us are in that space that we just have forgotten what good feels like, what health feels like. What would you tell them?
Mm. Wow. Just even as you're asking that question, I'm like, gosh, I could go in so many different places. I'm probably going to go somewhere you didn't expect, but I think I have to start here because if I was sitting across from that person, and I have many times, if they're left to their own,
Mm,
if they are left with no help, if they are left with no accountability, if they're left being surrounded by people who are also afraid of aging well, like they're afraid of aging and they don't
right.
believe they can age well, and they've got a dark cloud hovering above their head, that
Mm,
person is really going to have a hard time. So I think the one place I'd have them start is find a resource to help you understand there is more. There should be excitement because your next years can be your best years,
yeah.
and be around people who are out there to challenge the status quo in aging. If we,
Hmm.
if we are not wrapped in some kind of community or resource or group, whether it's live, whether it's virtual, and we're doing it alone, it's a really big problem. Then once we have that resource, then our next steps would be a different conversation. But I
That's
really think
good.
they have to be surrounded by others who are where they want to be. We never want to be the smartest person in the room. We never want to be the healthiest person in the room,
Mm,
right?
that's good.
We
Yeah.
always want to put ourselves in the place, in the midst of people who are where we desire to be: mind, body, spirit.
So good. Yes, and yes. Nobody needs to be doing this business alone. It's way too hard.
It
Way too
is.
hard. Life is too hard to do it alone.
That's right.
Aging well is too hard to do it alone.
That's right. Absolutely.
So that's a perfect segue into what you offer because you have an amazing program that you have developed and it's morphed over the years, but I'm just so in awe of what the Lord has helped you to build. So talk to us a little bit about your program and how people can find out information about that.
Thank you, Jan. Yeah, so my program is called Faith Forward Age Backward. So it's the acronym is FFAB. So if I say FAB for short, you'll know I'm talking about Faith Forward Age Backward. So this is my signature coaching program, and it really is a passion project. And it has morphed over the years. I've done programs for years. I've had courses. I've had different things, but I feel like every single one of them have teed me up for where I am right now, because this is
Mm,
where I'm making the biggest impact. And I know a big part of it is that God truly is the epicenter of absolutely everything we do. You cannot pull him out of what we do. So I'm very, very upfront with ladies to let them know this is absolutely faith-based. If that's uncomfortable for you, you might not be comfortable here because we can't
mm,
pull God out. We can't. Then it's just like
mhm.
every other health and fitness program out there. I truly believe he's a big part of what makes it different. So I've got 5 steps within my program. The very first one is all about nutrition, right? It's all about how do we eat? What are we supposed to be consuming? I go into macronutrients. What's the best way to approach those? Really break it down and try and get very detailed. So we really want to hit that nutrition first because it's the hardest. Honestly, it's the hardest out of everything when I work with women. Step 2 is all about movement to work with your hormones instead of against. So I have mobility and balance and strength training and HIIT workouts. And then we talk a lot about jump training and sprint interval training for those who are able, because as we get older, we lose that agility and that quickness of our feet. And we also lose it with our cardiorespiratory system. So that's step 2. My step 3 is all about, it's the unsexy step, but it's the one that is so important, and it is sleep and stress. And I actually have very practical little videos to like, this is how I de-stress. Like you watch the video and it's taking you through practices of de-stressing. And then I've got very specifics in there for how to sleep well, because without these 2 things, if these are not nailed, everything else is going to crumble. My 4th step is all about all the symptoms we deal with perimenopause and menopause and how to mitigate them. So from digestion to hot flashes to night sweats, we talk about all of them and modalities and things that we can do to help those. And then my last step is all about toxins. So everybody listening knows toxins are bad, right? But then we get so overwhelmed with, oh my gosh, I just have to live in a bubble. No. So in my step 5, I've made it very, very simple with very practical things that you can do switches over time very slowly to just try and help reduce the toxic load. And then I have a bonus step, which is all about your best skin in perimenopause and menopause, which is really fun. So we also have a functional practitioner on board who can do hormone testing for you if you choose to do that. There's bi-monthly coaching calls with me, monthly coaching calls with her where you can ask questions. So it's a really robust life transformation for those in perimenopause and menopause.
That's amazing. And I would encourage you, if you think that you may be in perimenopause, I'm telling you, well, Lisa knows, but if you're a listener and you think, oh, well, this just doesn't apply to me, it just might. I think sometimes those symptoms, we slough them off. We ignore them because we think that that's normal and don't realize that we're probably starting the perimenopausal journey earlier than we think. And so I would just encourage you guys I'm going to drop all of Lisa's information in the show notes. She has an amazing podcast that she drops 2 episodes a week. I'm in awe of that, by the way. And so you need to go and listen to her podcast. You need to put it on your must listen list weekly. It's just so good. So much great information. She has product tips, and this woman, if she says go buy this, it is something that you can trust because it has been fully vetted. And so I'm so impressed with you. I just love you so much. I love everything that you bring into the world. And thank you so much for sharing yourself with me and our listeners today. Just thank you.
Thank you, Jan. It's been an honor and a pleasure. You know that I adore you, and we're only 3.5 hours away, and we just need to hang out more. But
yes, we do.
Yes, we do. But it was just an honor to be here and to get to pour into your listeners. Hopefully they found some value today.
Thanks for joining me for another episode of Her Faith at Work. If the Lord put someone on your heart that you think needs to hear this message today, will you just smash that share button? And if you haven't already followed the show, I would love for you to do that. Super extra points if you hop over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. That helps the algorithm pick us up and drop us right in the AirPods of people that need to hear what the Lord is saying to them today. I hope you'll come back for the next episode of Her Faith at Work. The podcast comes out every Wednesday. And if you look down in the show notes, I've even got a couple of free downloads for you that I think you will really enjoy. With that, have a great week. See you next time.